Hey guys, today I'm just doing the second part to last week's Q&A because I had so many questions I couldn't get to them all. So I'm pretty sure I'll get to the rest of them today. My first question comes in from someone. Um, what tattoo is your favorite? Well, my favorite tattoo varies day to day. Um, kind of somewhere in between maybe my back piece, my eye tattoo on my stomach, chest, or my chest piece. But like that can change sometimes. I really like these roses on my face or my jawline tattoo, or right now my rose on my hand, or these two rose tattoos here that I just got recently are kind of a favorite right now. And if you ask me tomorrow what I'm getting done might be my favorite tattoo. Um, I'll be sharing that a little later on. But yeah, my favorite tattoo varies. I can't really commit to just one. So, someone asked me if I'm religious at all, and the answer is no. I'm not. I am not religious in any way, but I don't really have any strong stances against religion at all. I've considered myself at times to be either humanist, atheist, or sometimes I feel a little nihilistic. But I have no real hard religious beliefs in any direction. Someone asked me, I watched and loved the podcast, but any thought of having different people on? And honestly, I would love to have a different format, like a different type of podcast as well, running alongside the Remy show, in which I speak to a different tattoo or pierce kind of character every week. But getting that done is a bit tricky. I'm still working out the kinks on that, but it is something I plan on doing eventually. That was actually my original idea for the podcast to begin with. So that definitely is something I want to do in the future. I'm not sure exactly when that will happen, but eventually I want to do that, yes. Someone asked me if I think body mod should be looked at similarly to how we look at gender these days. That's a loaded question. Um, I can't really say whether or not it's the same thing to want to look different through body mods as it is to want to be a different gender. I assume it comes from a similar place, and that especially if you're extremely into body mods, there's definitely something firing in me that's on some form of chemical or biological level where I keep modifying myself. All I'll say is that I think that um, gender and body mods meet in a one way, and that I think that the world should be more tolerant, perhaps, of those sorts of issues. But at the same time, I don't really feel like other people should have to pay for our modifications that we do. I feel like the best way is for them not to be a disqualifier for work or any other good things that life can provide, say partnership or career opportunities, or say buying a house or anything like that. But then that we should probably have to be personally responsible for them financially as well would be my opinion on that. So in that way, I guess they could be related. I don't know if they come from the same origin, though. I can't speculate because I can't speak from the vantage point of someone going through uh, gender change or sex change or anything like that, or gender issues in general. I have no real experience or um, understanding to speak from. So those are my limited viewpoints on that subject. Someone asked me if I have any cool um, stories of people reacting to my tattoos and piercings. I have all kinds, but um, one that sticks out right now is I had a guy, an older man, approach me recently and said that he was thrilled to see my tattoos because you can tell that I really went for it and that I did it all. I completed my bodysuit, and he sees so many people that only have a sleeve or uh, a few tattoos visible, and he always thinks of them as quitters or like they didn't have the guts to go through with it. And he was probably in his 70s, so I thought it was really interesting for an older dude like that to commend me on my dedication to what I was doing and really going for it. That just happened here a few months ago. That's probably my favorite story I've had from someone in that regard recently. Someone asked me, what questions do I hear too often? What's one I wish I got more? Too often I hear questions about, did you do it because you wanted to be black, or race related questions. Um, Too often I hear people ask me, like, did I do this because I hate my old tattoos, or did I black out because my old work was bad? Those questions I've heard, anything to do with the blackout, I've heard a lot of stupid questions too many times. One question I'd like to hear more often is, what positive ways have your tattoos and piercings benefited you? No one ever asks that. It's as if they think that um, tattooing and piercing is all bad and that there's no potential that you could have learned anything new or gained anything from it. So that's one question I'd like to hear more often, because there's been a lot more positives than people might think through body mods for me. Someone asked me, how long did it take to conceptualize a sleeve pre-blackout? And the answer is quite a long time for me. Um, I didn't have sleeves right away. I had lots of tattoos before I had sleeves. My first tattoo ever was on my arm, but I didn't figure out how to put that into a sleeve until probably 7 or 8 years later into my tattoo journey. So my sleeves took quite a while to envision, and I wasn't even sure I would ever have full sleeves. So the answer is, yeah, 7 or 8 years for both left and right. I was sleeving both arms at the same time with different artists. Someone asked me, someone I look up to and why. If I had to say anyone, it would probably be my stepdad, but not because he was such a great father figure, more because even though he wasn't a great father figure, he did the best that he could, and he stayed around whether his kids or stepkids were easy on him or not. He wasn't really the father figure that I needed at the time, but at the same time, now looking back, I'm happy he stayed with my mom through all the shit we put him through, because my dad was long gone by then, and he could have easily probably been too. So that's a roundabout, and I won't get too much more into that today, but probably my stepdad. Um, Someone asked my favorite funeral doom metal band, um, and they mentioned that their favorite was Ahab or Ahab. I'm not actually sure how to say that band's name, but I have heard them lots. They aren't my favorite funeral doom metal band because I find them just a bit too dry, but I do like them. My favorite funeral doom metal band is definitely Shape of Despair by far, with a strong mention to the band Slow. They're very obscure. Well, both bands are. The whole genre is. But if you haven't heard Slow and you like funeral doom metal bands, I would definitely recommend checking them out. But Shape of Despair is my favorite funeral doom metal band, and all their albums I love for different reasons. What was my first body mod? Someone said. If you count my ear piercing when I was 6, then we could say that. Um, my first facial piercing was when I was 12. I got my septum pierced. So that would be my first real body mod, I would say. Who or what introduced you to blackout tattoos? Someone asked. This is a long one. Years ago, I was watching a documentary called Modify. Probably back in 2004, I watched that documentary. And there was a fellow on there named Bear, or goes by Bear Balmeras, I think is how his name is said. He actually passed away just a few years ago. And I remember he was one of the kindest, well-spoken, tattooed and pierced individuals I've ever encountered to this day. And he had blackout sleeves. He had giant ears, and he had tribal face tattoos. He was actually a born-again Christian, too. So he was a very strange, not typical character in the body mob world. And he was distinct for all kinds of reasons, but he was the first person that I ever seen with blackout tattoos. And I remember how well saturated they were and how good they looked on him. So yes, if you haven't seen him, his name was Bear Balmeras, I believe is his name. Um, I don't know if he has an Instagram presence or not, but it was a huge hit in the body mod community when he passed away a few years ago. So I would think that he was one of the modern forefathers of this community and a very well-spoken, positive figure in the community as well. So yeah, someone asked, what's one tattoo I wish I got when I was younger? Um, I don't really have any one tattoo I wish I got when I was younger. I kind of really like these roses for that, though. Like, I would say I probably would have started with those instead of the stars originally. But they turned out fine, so I don't really think that there's anything in particular I wished I had got tattooed. Because as I'm finding out now, there really is no limit to what I can do anyway. Even having been tattooed so much, I'm still being able to create new images through the use of black on black and white on black. So there's nothing that I really wish I had have done that I didn't do. I kind of did all the things I wanted to do, and now I'm doing more. If that makes sense. Someone said, what's my next tattoo? Well, tomorrow I'll be getting more work on my throat and my clavicles, more black line work. I won't be showing that off for a little while now, probably a couple weeks, because I'm gonna be shading all of those together. I'm gonna be shading these two roses like this, and shading the work that I get done here and here. It's kind of at the same time, and that's going to be coming up right away here. So there won't be a whole lot of reveal until kind of the end with that. But I'm super interested in seeing how well it's going to look, and also what it's going to feel like, because some of these areas have been done so many times. So I'll be excited to share that with everyone. And I've also been a little bit curious as to how it's going to work out, because my neck is not as light as my hand is. My neck is one of the darker spots on me. So you can see this, but not unless I go pretty close. So I'm not sure how well it's going to look. I don't know if it's going to look as saturated as this or not, or not saturated, but just the dots and shading are going to show as well. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, that's my next tattoo. Someone asked me what size needles were used for my blackouts. I've had two groupings used on me typically. 23 round mags and 27 mags are typically what I've used for my blackouts. And anything smaller than that I wouldn't recommend personally. It's going to be a long day, and it's going to be a lot more trauma than is necessary for such big, heavy areas of saturation. Someone asked me what was the most painful place I've been tattooed, and there's a couple answers to that. For me, the throat, the lower back, and the stomach. The throat is probably the most visceral for me. My lower back hurts the most, just straight out. And in terms of discomfort the whole way, the stomach definitely takes the cake. I really don't like getting my stomach tattooed. I never ever say anything about it. No, you'll never hear me complain, but it's probably my least favorite area to work in, just overall. So I feel like there's very few breaks in that area between ribs and belly button and kind of around your sides. And yeah, just a lot of stretchy tissue there to work around, and it's just overall not pleasant. So yeah. Someone asked me if I ever felt like passing out during a blackout session. There have been a couple times when I've gotten to that point where I needed to really focus on my breathing. One of them was recently on my inner right thigh blackout, and one of them was on a 5.5 hour stomach and rib tattoo session, where when I went home after that one, I actually threw up a few times. So to answer your question, yes, there's been 2 times when I really had to kind of coach myself into a better mind state, and just kind of focus on getting through the tattoo session and not kind of passing out or having to tap out. It's only happened twice. Someone asked me, how long do I want to live for? I'm kind of the kind of person that I don't really want to live until I'm like senile necessarily, or starting to lose my wits. I would rather die younger and in better mental health and physical health. I would rather die some age when I wasn't reliant on others. So whether that puts me at 65, 70, or 80 or whatever, I just don't want to be reliant on other people to take care of me entirely. So whenever that point is, that's when I prefer to go. If that makes sense. Someone asked me how many times I've been pierced. The answer is 112, I believe. Between all my multiple piercings, I've had some things done many, many times over. My example, my eyebrow, this eyebrow alone has been done 17 times. I've had my belly button pierced 5 times. I've had my nipples pierced twice each side. I've had hip piercings, some piercings downstairs, all these different ear piercings. Some ear piercings I've taken out. Multiple nostril piercings. I used to have 2 nostril piercings in each one. The septum, obviously, double bridge, double cheeks. I had 7 lower lip piercings, 3 upper lip piercings, like you name it. I've had just about everything. Anti-eyebrow piercings, dermal piercings. Yeah, I've had tons and tons of piercings. It's actually hard to even remember them all, to be quite honest. So anyway, yeah, 112 times is my number, I believe. Someone asked me what my longest tattoo session ever was, and it was 9.5 hours on my head. I was getting these roses done by a slower artist, and yeah, they took her 9.5 hours. They were really bright red at the time. Then I had them touched up one other time after that, and then Lee, my old tattoo artist, blacked them out and added white to them, so they're like a pale red or like a pinky kind of whitey in black, and I find them a lot less abrasive. They're easier to live with than that candy bright red that I had, I think. Someone asked me what my first tattoo was. I'm going to go over that in another video. I'm going to give it a full video, but I had my son's name on my left arm, left wrist area, and that was my first tattoo, yeah. Someone asked what my favorite type of music was, and my favorite type of music is any kind of doom metal or gothic metal. I've loved metal in general forever, but over the last 10, 15 years, gothic and doom metal, and particularly the heavier and slower doom metal, like Funeral Doom, for example, from earlier, are my favorite go-tos. But I also like a lot of indie music as well. Someone asked me what happened to my piercing gig. I'm still kind of halfway doing my apprenticeship, but during COVID, it's been hard to travel, and my piercing, the person who's been apprenticing me, they moved to Kelowna, so I would have to travel up there to continue that. And I've had a few times where I was planning on going, but things sort of fell through because of different travel bans, or financial things would come up with my job, or the shop would be closed, or it just hasn't been a good time to be transitioning into a new career path. I'm sure anyone can understand that. So that is still sort of underway, and the shop I get tattooed at still wants me to be the piercer there, but I still have to finalize my apprenticeship, so that's kind of hanging right now. Someone asked me how tattoos have affected my love life, and honestly, if they've affected my love life at all, it's only been for the better, because for example, my partner now likes my new tattoos better than my old tattoos. Not that she minded the old ones, but in general, I've always found that, if anything, a lot of the women that I was pursuing, or that were pursuing me, found the tattoos to be a positive, not a negative. So they didn't have any bearing on my love life. But then again, I guess maybe if you were looking for a certain type of person, maybe they wouldn't be interested in that. But it's never been a concern for me. Someone asked me if I have ever had any strange comments about being a parent with parent with tattoos. And the answer is only ever online. You don't hear that stuff ever in person. But online, I've had people say that my son should be taken away from me, or that it's abuse that he's living with me, all kinds of crazy things, as if body art makes you a worse person or something. Those people if they have kids themselves, are probably more abusive than I am, just with that thought process alone that if you believe that someone is bad because of the way they look, I don't think you should be raising children. I think that's child abuse. I think that you're going to make those kids hateful little monsters like you are. So, yeah, I have had nasty comments from people. I've had people say my son is ugly on pictures before. I've had all kinds of weird things like that. That's the internet for you, though. That stuff never ever happens in person, as most people are a lot more confident to say hateful, ridiculous things online. No surprise there. Um, Someone says, one thing I would tell anyone looking to get into body mods but afraid of how it will impact their future. This is an easy one for me. Body mods haven't impacted my life in any way negatively, really. Other than, like I talked about in the last video, my ears are a little hard to sleep on sometimes, depending on where they are in a stretching process. Or my lip piercing has some complications of its own. But in terms of the public, I've never had trouble finding work. I've never had trouble making a living. I own a house. I'm married. I have a 12-year-old son that I take care of. And I'm financially very stable. So I don't think that it should be a detriment to your future. I just think that there's some things that you should know. There's some fields that are more problematic to work in than others. Maybe consider getting a skill or a trade, something that you can do that doesn't have to be necessarily dealing with the public all the time. Though that being said, I see a lot more people in the public sphere with tattoos and piercings visible. So by the time you get to where you want to be, who knows what will be acceptable. And it also goes by the area you're in, too. See, where I am, it's fairly conservative, and I've still been secure my whole life. I've never not had work. So I think that the stigma attached to tattoos and piercings has either gone away or it's going away. And what we have left over is just kind of old wounds and war stories and people trying to keep people from doing it because they don't like the look of it themselves or whatever it is, some kind of fear mongering. Because honestly, it hasn't affected me at all. As I said, I own a house, I run a business, I have several smaller income streams, and I have a 12-year-old son. I'm married. My life is as successful as the American dream ever is. So that's all I can say about that, is it doesn't have to be a detriment to your future. Anyway, that's all the questions. So I had a lot of fun with this, and I actually got some good questions this time. Usually I get the same ones, always. And there were a few that were a bit typical, but for the most part, you guys asked some really great questions. So I might have to do this again sometime. So I hope you guys have enjoyed these Q&As, and I'll talk to you again soon.